Hey, so this is a proof of concept using an Emotiv Epoc and an Arduino and IR emitter to um, push a block away, just with the mind, and then if you get it right, you can turn the TV off. uh, let's see if we can turn it back on. It's crazy. Okay, and welcome to the tutorial of the hacky version of converting Emotiv Epoch information and controlling a television with that via an Arduino. The first step is to get the Arduino to talk to a television, and we do that by reading IR information from the television remote's controller into the Arduino, and then sending that same signal out at the Arduino's whim. The first thing we want to do is go to this library or this tutorial site and get the library. So I'll post this site in the description, as well as the sending IR codes and this diagram in the description. The first thing though is we want to install the IR library, and this is just the library that contains all the sort of consumer version IR codes that are happening in televisions and stereos, most stuff that uses IR. When you download the first library, we want to install it in the correct space. So if you go to your documents, and this is only if you already have Arduino installed. If you go to your documents and then Arduino, there should be a libraries folder. If there's not one, then create one, and then place your zip folder just outside that libraries folder, and then unzip it. And inside you'll see 5 folders. Just copy all 5 of those folders and paste them into libraries. Don't try to be smart and paste this folder into libraries. For one, Arduino doesn't like these dashes. It would prefer an underscore, and then I don't know, I think I ran into a problem. If you change it into an underscore, then maybe that would work. But the easiest way is to just copy those folders and place them into libraries. When you've done that, then shut down your Arduino software if it's already open, and reopen it so that you can reestablish the link between Arduino and the libraries. And then you should be able to go into File, Examples, and at the bottom you'll see Custom Libraries. So here we have the IR library, and now we can get into the setup for the receiver. So on the same page, if we go to, well, for one, the hardware that you need for receiving is just an IR receiver. That's it for this first setup. So they suggest this TSOP 38238. I have a VS1838B, whatever any of those mean. Just know the setup of it. On mine, the signal pin is on the left side, and then it goes ground voltage. It might be different on this guy. And it looks like it's the same. Just make sure that your setup is the same, and then let's go over into the sending IR codes. And here's the diagram. So this right stuff we don't really need, but this this first setup, we have the middle. So this is the actual, the IR receiver is facing towards us. It's that round part. So the round part is facing towards you, and instead of this left pin attaching to the Arduino's 11th pin, we're setting it to the second pin. If you can see this up here. The middle is still going to a ground. The last one is going to the voltage, the 5-volt voltage on the Arduino. And that should be it. It's just 3 wires. That's it. Once you've done that, then we can go into the same code that's here. You just copy all of this and you paste it. I've simplified it a little bit on here, but it's essentially all the same. And when you push it. Let's verify it first. We want to make sure that our board is the Arduino Uno if you're using the Arduino Uno, or just match it up. And then make sure that the communication port is the same. It should pop up what is connected to that. And then once you do that, you can push it. Is it actually uploading? One of the things that happens a lot is, and it might happen later, is it won't upload. It'll just bring up this orange box and says like can't do it. In that case, you just unplug your Arduino and then plug it back in and then try again, and usually that works. So once we've done that, we can bring up the serial monitor, which is Control-Shift-M, or we can go into Tools and go to Serial Monitor. It's ready to receive IR signals. So in this case, I'm not going to use my television remote because I don't want to turn off my display. But if we use this stereo remote, we can point it at the IR receiver and do 3, 2, 1 button press. So we get all this junk. The most important stuff though is that we've decoded the protocol, which is NEC, which in other forms it can be Sony, it can be, if we scroll down here to the different protocols, Sony, RC, Panasonic, it can be all that stuff. And it will show us the value, and it will show us how many bits it is. So we want to know the bits, how many bits, what the value is, and the protocol. That's all we need to know. So once we have that done, and you've copied that in some form or fashion, then we can go over to here and we start setting up the infrared. So in this case, it's taking a 470 ohm resistor. In my setup, I have, I think, two 220 ohm resistors that are in series. So one is just leading into the other, and so from pin 3 we connect to the resistors, and then that feeds into the middle of a 2N2222 transistor. I think mine is like a 38.4, 2N38.4. Does that make sense? 3804 maybe? That's only because I like literally just looked at it and I don't even necessarily think I got it right. So just find, you want to find your specific transistor and make sure that the specs are the same, but pretty much just set it up the same way. If your transistor is huge, then you're doing an overkill. It should be this little tiny thing that's the same as the IR receiver, same size. So flat side up top, and we have same sort of thing. You want to make sure that so 2N22, 2N22, 22, 22, 22. I like going to the images. Okay, so the one that's going to be up here on the right side, oops, on this right side, because the flat side's on top, is the emitter. And then the right side is going to the, short side of an IR LED. When you get the IR emitter, you'll have a long side and a short side. Make sure the short side is connected to the transistor and the long side is connected to the voltage. When that all happens, we can go into this code, and they provide a similar code on that page, but this is going a little bit further. So at the top we say include the IR library so that it can understand what to do with all of this send information. And then I'm saying IR send NEC. I'm specifying the NEC up here, but if I didn't have that and I just did a control cut, then down here in my send I would want to do NEC and then comma. Let's undo that though. Then we have our incoming byte. We're setting it up as 0, and the thing that we want to get is the serial read. And if we're inputting any sort of key into the keyboard, then we want to be able to read that in the serial monitor. So if you copy this, then this is sort of the most important part right now, is if the serial available is greater than 0, if it's not empty, then send back what the incoming byte is, get that incoming byte from the serial read. So let's push this. And because I switched from this Arduino sketch to this one, it's going to bring up this problem, so I'll unplug it and get rid of that connection to the previous sketch and then plug it back in. Done. Let's bring up the serial monitor and let's just type in any key. So we'll type in R, that's 114. So let's do a countdown from C, B, and A is 97. So it actually did send, but it's not close enough to my television to turn it off. So let's go back into this code and figure out what exactly it needs to be sending. So if we have a switch statement of the incoming byte, and it says if the incoming byte matches 97, which we found out was A, then use my sender to send this specific code, which if we went back into our previous one, it would be the value. And it's a 0x and then the value. So in the case of our previous example, it would be 0x then 1EE133CC. And then 32-bit, make sure that 32-bit is the same, and that'll be it. And then you break that case if you wanted to create a new one and be receiving, say, B. Let's just create a case. So case, what was it? B was 98. Then we'll serial print B was pressed. We'll close that off. We'll save it and we'll push it. So it's doing all its blinky stuff. And it's good. So let's actually show it applying to the television. So we go into our serial monitor and we push A and then hit return, and the television turns off. Type A again, and then we'll turn back on. If we go into serial monitor and we press B, it should say B was pressed. So this is a way you can get multiple incoming ASCII key presses and determine what signal to send out. So at this point, we're good. We just want to save this sketch and then know that we need to plug information into the serial monitor if we want it to communicate with the Arduino. Now to get into the emotive stuff. So I have a pretty bad connection right now. I'm not really trying too hard, but our pull seems to be doing just fine. Pull. I haven't trained it. very well. And then we also want to use an Emokey. So Emotiv comes with Emotiv Xavior, which allows you to train yourself on different mental commands. We also want to go, so we want to go into detections and mental commands. We also want to go into application and Xavier Emokey. In Emokey, we want to create a rule, and then we want to make a condition that if the condition is met, then we'll create the rule. So I don't know what. Well, it was because I made previous rules. So what do we want our rule to be? We want it to press a key. We want it to press. Let's do B, so I'm not turning my television on and off. And we'll say OK. And the condition we want it to meet would be a pull seems to be doing very well right now. So we'll go into configure condition and we'll say under pull, if it's greater than, and over here we see this bar, if it's getting into like there, then trigger it. So let's do 50, actually maybe 60, and apply that. Say I wanted to change that. One of the issues with Emokey, and one of the things that you should be aware of, is if I drop it down to 0.5, just me bringing this up has reset the action to like rotate left. So I need to, every time you make any sort of adjustment, you need to say, you have to redefine all of the conditions. Why is it doing, is it, why is it doing that? Oh, it's because every time you change the action, it resets the limit. Okay. 0.6, 0.7. Now to define the application that it's working under. So initially it's just application and focus. So if we wanted to have it start reading the stuff, then we would want to just click on it. And so if we do pull, oh, now it's doing push. All right, let's change this to push. Okay, and we're seeing that it's meeting conditions at sometimes. So let's enable that, and let's try push command. Okay, we're getting a pretty good push reading, so let's go into the application and focus and try pushing. So we're getting it a bunch. It's actually, it is working. We want to go back into Emokey, and let's not do enter. Let's do the application. So we can either send it to the application focus, or we can make sure that even if we're in Emotiv and trying to retrain and stuff like that, it's not interfering. So send to a particular application window, and then drag this little box over to the Arduino serial monitor and apply that. Why is it not typing it in? I don't know. Maybe it does need to be the application and focus for now. Apply. So we have everything set up. At this point, we should be able to enable our enter key, and let's do a push command. Oh, right. We have to have serial monitor clicked. All right. So it's all working. And that should cover everything. Let me know if you run into problems. Otherwise, I hope you get it working. All right, check you later.